Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul on demand, Season 2, Episode 33 with Phil Vassar.
You know, but I dropped dead. I was dead for 30 minutes a couple times, you know.
Died
no heartbeat at all. So,
dude, I gotta know, man. What's it like? What's it like dying?
Everybody was like, you know, hey, what was it like going? Did you go through a tunnel? I said, I don't remember anything.
Man, we got into an intense conversation with Phil Vassar. I love this guy after talking to him. His heart is really where it needs to be, and he wants to continue making music and doing what he does. And we had a great conversation, and I invite you to come give it a listen. I appreciate you checking out Taste of Country Nights on demand. You can go back some of our past episodes. We had Jason Aldean recently, Kelsey Ballerini, Brantley Gilbert, Darius Rucker. Just search for Taste of Country Nights on demand wherever you get your podcasts. Taste of Country, we're hanging out here with Phil Vassar, man. What's happening?
Well, nothing. How are you guys doing?
Good, man. Good to see you. Got some new music on the way, man. Let's talk. I want to talk about Hillbillies in Hollywood.
Yeah, we Jeffrey and I wrote that song. He grew up in L.A., of course, and I grew up in Virginia, opposite coast. So we always talked about, that. But, the funny thing is, when we talked about music, we grew up, listening to, the same music, really, the Eagles and Billy Joel, Elton John, Merle Haggard, George Jones. It was really different, back then. It was, it wasn't so, this country, there's new country, there's this.
Right.
Back then it was kind of AOR, and you'd get Hornsby, then you'd get Rick James or whatever you get. It was pretty cool. I like that, and but that's what happened. It came out of a conversation we were talking about it, and he was playing in Bakersfield and L.A. and all that stuff. I was playing in D.C. and Virginia, Philly, East Coast stuff, but it's the same music, the same stories. It kind of came out of it, and that's why we wrote Hillbillies.
At what point did you decide it needed to be a duet?
Well, I mean, we've always talked about cutting stuff together because Jeff was a great singer, and and of course, he had a record deal for a while. Of course, I got to actually have, I've had a lot of hits as an artist, but I had way more hits as a writer, right? Probably, but it was it was kind of a cathartic thing. We were like, man, let's just have some fun, write some music. And one of the first songs we wrote was Hillbillies, it came out really good. I love it. And, so we're going to try to do a whole record. That's what we're doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're going to do a whole album, and for us, whether but I think some good songs will come.
It's going to be both you writing and duetting.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just he's a great entertainer too, and I love. If you've ever seen Jeffrey play, he's a stud, man. He's a great player, and we're both spastic as hell. I think but it translates. I mean, I think we love what we do. We're really blessed to do what we do, and it comes out in our tunes, and we're not balladeers by any means, for sure. I mean, I've had a few hit ballads, but I feel more comfortable just energetic shows, and because ballads can bring the show down, I mean, it's good to have them every once in a while, but I think I'll do maybe one a night.
Well, how are you feeling, man?
I feel great.
You had a heart attack?
And a stroke.
Okay, give me the details. Take me back to that time.
Well, I don't remember any of it, but, I know I wasn't feeling well, and I just had genetic heart disease, because I wasn't a drinker and a partier or any of that. I worked out every day. I kept feeling bad, so I kept really concentrating on my health and trying to, I never ate anything fried or anything like that. Never did. It just caught up with me, the genes. And I asked my doctor, and he said, "Dude, you had no chance. You were going to die." He said, "You just had bad genetics." And he said, you're probably alive because you did take care of yourself. He said, I don't know, but I think that's what happened. I kept working out. I kept trying, and I figured I'll get through this. But my arteries were clogged. Genetics, bad genes.
You had the stroke at the same time?
3 days later.
In the hospital?
Yeah. So they shot me straight down to Atlanta. Stroke protocol, all that stuff. So they iced me down, and they said I was going, why was it so cold? Because you're on ice, So it was a weird thing, but I dropped dead. I was dead for 30 minutes, a couple times,
Died
no heartbeat at all. So,
dude, I gotta know, man. What's it like? What's it like dying?
Everybody was like, hey, what was it like going? Did you go through a tunnel? I said, I don't remember anything. I just wasn't feeling good before, and I don't remember. I was out doing a Christmas tour with Dina Carter right before all that happened, and I don't remember any of it. It's just a lot of maybe it'll come back.
Where were you? When it happened?
I was at the house.
Okay.
I was at the house, and if I had to been with somebody, But anyway, she was, on her toes enough to call 911. They talked her through it, and they said, "Listen to him breathing. He's turning blue." He said, "Well, he's having a heart attack." She's like, "Oh my God!" So she started doing CPR till life saving till the crew got there, and they brought me back. They had to shock me 11 times. And cracked some broke my ribs, but I don't remember any of that. But they did a heck of a job getting me back, And so
I know you don't remember much, but what did you learn about yourself going through this process on the back end that you could reflect on?
I don't think I ever want to do it again. No, but I mean, you know what? It was. I wish I could speak about it, But I just know I wasn't feeling well, and. I was tired a lot, and I just was like, man, what is wrong, But my tour manager, my band leader said, man, I'd have to get you out of bed to go on stage. He said, you were tired all the time. I'm like, that was never me, but it was, it was in the right place at the right time, thank goodness. And they rushed me to Vanderbilt, and thank goodness for that.
Are you able to still tour like at full speed now?
Well, I am. I'm back on tour, and I'm back, doing what I always do, But I'm just not I'm not pounding it like I used to. I think I did 100 shows that one year, but the year I croaked. But but I mean, I feel great. I mean, I love singing. I appreciate it more. I can tell you that. I mean, I appreciate being here, being alive, and I just, thank goodness for medicine. I mean, those guys. I mean, I probably would not have lived a few years ago, but they can stent you and fix you. And I mean, it's you think you're doing everything right, and then it all goes wrong, right? It's just weird that way, but that's just life, I suppose. But I'm very blessed. Glad to be here.
Yeah, hey, man. We also want to talk about the other song, Like a Man's Supposed to Be, real saxophone driven. We were talking about it, and it's like a love-making song.
Yeah.
Hey. Tell me about that song, like writing it.
We just, when we were writing that song, I could definitely hear the sax and just had a groove. We put on this groove, and I was playing, and we just started writing the words, man. It's like I'm sorry, man. It's like I've messed up. I mean, it's like I'm not messing up anymore, right? I think it's just fun to write with Jeff. I mean, Jeffrey is he's just a super talented, but he's just fun, and you can laugh and you go through, all the emotions with him. It's fun, and but it was really, really cool. I'm excited about writing this whole thing, this whole record, and I mean, we've had a bunch of hits between us for sure. It's like we could do, 8 hours of music, and but I'm really pumped about getting in the studio and writing some new stuff.
What is your all-time classic favorite country baby-making ballad?
Golly, man, that's a tough one. Oh, man. I mean, you know what? I mean, I always loved George Jones. George was just such a great singer. And, Vince, I always think about the guys like that they can sing the phone book, and it sounds great. But I just always loved, God, man, you put me on the spot. I got so many favorites. But, good grief. I loved Olivia. We were talking about Olivia Newton-John this morning. And Olivia was, I got to hang out with Olivia and meet her and over the years. And she was just great. I loved her voice. It was just like, she could just sit there and I would just like melt every time she sang, And, but I don't know, as far as, the love making ballads, I always liked, I Can't Make You Love Me. That's one of my favorite songs. I know Bonnie Raitt sang that, and it's just one of my favorites. Mike Reed, one of my dear friends, wrote that song, and plays it. Hearing him do it, is that guy, his big football player hands, and he plays that thing like it's just amazing. The writers in this town, and that it influence you. You really do, and you were talking about too how. I got to meet all these folks when I first, like Merle Haggard and, and Conway Twitty, all these guys. And Ronnie Millsap was, of course, a big, he meant a lot to me because he was a piano player, and I was like, man, how does he play like that? And he can't even see. How does he do that? Him and Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles,
I don't know. I think Stevie Wonder can see, man.
Man, I tell you, that guy. It's amazing. It just is, and I just love. But I love the soul that, something that's really heartfelt like that, and that, you got to really be in a special place to write something like that,
And you, in the 90s, 2000s, like you were a staple, still are in country music. And a lot of that music is starting to come back with like younger kids.
Yeah.
Is there one of your songs that you've seen starting to come back with a younger generation?
It's funny. We were playing, I guess a couple weeks ago in Cincinnati, and there's like a lot of kids there. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of young people here. And they wanted me to play Little Red Rodeo, which was my first hit. Oh, wow. And it's, and we've always cut it and it's just a rockin' fun song. And it's like I said, I hardly ever do ballads, but it was a fun, that's one we get a lot of that and Bye Bye. Of course, I'm All Right. And all that stuff that I was writing when I owned my own bar here in Nashville. And, before everybody else owned them, it was back in the day, you're like, you're crazy. But I grew up in the restaurant business, so I wanted to have one here, and I just started sort of went over in Hickory Hollow. Now it's kind of coming back, that area, but it was really special time because I got to not just do Billy Joel or Elton John or do hits or Warren Zevon or whoever I was playing, but I did my own songs and
that's cool.
And of course Joe D or whoever would come in and like, who did that Bye Bye song? Well, that's one of my songs. And so anyway, I finally started getting cuts and it just, that's how it really started. It catapulted me into the business, good or bad, whatever.
Is it crazy that the little kids are like, play your first song ever? They probably weren't around.
No, of course they're. It's like, you're 20 years old. That song's 20 years old.
That's got to make you feel good, though, man.
They're like, my mom played that song. That's our favorite. Please play rodeo. I'm like, I'll play it. Of course I'll play it.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool when that happens. It's fun.
Last night we went to the Toby Keith tribute concert at Bridgestone. Do you have any good Toby Keith memories?
Man, I have a lot of great Toby Keith memories. I loved him. I tell you what, man, it's still heartbreaking. I still can't believe it. It's like he was he's bigger than life, and that guy, and he just, I mean, from the first time I met him, and he was just always great, and he just, I don't know. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't wrap my head around it. You know, I always thought it was going to be it was going to turn out better, but it didn't. And I don't know. That was a shocker to me. You know, still is. You know, in a lot of ways. And but he was a great guy, great artist. You know, wrote some great songs, and him and Chuck Cannon wrote some great songs together. But I think, you know, I miss him. You know, and we all will miss him. You know, for a long time. It's hard to see somebody like that. I mean, he was really in his prime. You know, too.
Yeah.
And you know, you see folks, you know, they get old and they do this, and you know they fade away. But man, Toby just went out. You know, he was a bright star, man, bright shining. I hate it. You know, he was a good man. I enjoyed being with him the time we had together, and him and Sammy Hagar and all these guys. And, you know, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean,
did you ever get hammered with him?
No, well, everybody got hammered with Toby. If you were in the vicinity, you were going to get hammered with Toby, you know. But he was just a fun loving guy.
But y'all never got like hammered and stole a horse or anything.
Well, I never did that. I never stole a horse. I can't ride horses. We're very good anyway. But I mean, that was I'll leave that to Kenny and Tim. It was a good time. You know, I mean, when you're having enough fun to get on steal a police horse, that's a good time. That's a good time. That's a party.
Who gave you your first big opportunity? What artist?
Well, you know, Colin was one of them, but Jody, of course, and you know, Jody was. You know, I had my bar, and they'd come in the bar, and they'd hear my songs, and yeah, I'd write songs, and if people liked them, yeah, I knew. I could tell right away. And if it was like, if you finished your song and you stopped, you listened, and somebody goes, "Play some Skinner." That's when you know, okay, mark that one off. I mean, so it was. I think for me, playing in bars and the clubs were, I mean, that's where you cut your teeth. You do your thing, and you learn a lot about yourself. I mean, I learned to play. I learned, how to be on stage and, you know, entertain. And I think, you know, a lot of people get their deals and they've never played live. You know, I've seen a lot of those acts, you know, and it's very uncomfortable to watch, you know, and, you know, even people that have had hits, you know, they'll put a song out, and I know people that have had big hit songs, and, you know, they have to work into their show. But for us, it was, you know, I know Toby and all of us, we played bars. I mean, we were friggin' honky tonkin', man. We played, and it was a great place to learn how to play. You learn the good and the bad, you know, you learn what songs work, what songs don't work, you know, and because sometimes a song is just good it's a good on the radio, it's a good, but live it doesn't translate, and some songs kick live, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't translate to radio. I don't know. That's the thing. You just don't know. But I think being in clubs, that really did that was my education for sure.
You ever get punched in the face?
Are you kidding me? I owned my own bar, and I was a bouncer. I got up from the piano and picked the guy up and carried him out the freaking door over my shoulder. I was about 215 then, and working out every day of my life. But I mean, you know what? We had a lot of great times. It was, you know, bars, man, people get drunk and do stupid things.
How many times have you been punched in the face? A lot? Like,
well, I look like it, right?
No, I ask everybody that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I have been, but it's
that's crazy.
It's, you know, that's just part of it. You know, people drink too much and do stupid things.
It's country music, man.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but man, heck, I'd rather just have a beer with somebody than hit them in the face. I mean, unless they're, you know, doing something stupid.
Yeah.
But I've seen it happen. I mean, I've seen some good ones.
All right. Other than the album that you're talking about working on, touring, what's next for you, man?
Well, we're just, I love being in the studio again. We're writing and recording, and we're finishing out the summer and the fall, and we'll take a little break, and we're hitting it hard next year. So I'm excited about getting back out full bore, because that's what we are. We're a touring band, and we just love to take our music to the folks. We're having fun.
We're glad you're back doing it, man.
Thanks for having me on today. It's been great. I'm glad I'm here too.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's better to be seen than viewed. That's what I always say. Yeah.
Wow, that's a good one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
My dad always used to say, any day above ground's a good day.
That is true.
All right.
That is true, man. I tell you, it's something you never take for granted,
Well, thanks for coming by, man.
Thank you.
All right, let's bring in Billy Dukes from behind the camera to talk about this interesting interview we had with Phil Vassar. Caught me by surprise.
Yeah, how would you describe Phil's in-the-room energy? Like, you can't see that in the podcast, but you watch the video, you can kind of see it a little bit. He's a different kind of cat.
Times 100 is what I would say. Times 100. He's ready to go. He's definitely... I don't know, man. He's definitely somebody that's died a couple times. Those people that have died that come back to life, they have a different view on life.
Well, but he was kind of like that even before these incidents. Like, I watched the video portion of this interview back on like double speed. Sometimes I do that just to kind of remember kind of where the highlights are and what we want to talk about here. And it's unnerving because he moves around so much. When you watch it on 2x speed, it's like he's like twitching or something.
I didn't know.
He's got a real twitchy energy about him.
He was. It was a little. Once I figured out what was going on, I was like, okay, all right. I mean, he's just intense and twitchy a little bit, but he means well. He's just he's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and he's healthy. I don't mean to speculate because that's not what I'm trying to do. The interesting thing to me about this was that he this heart attack happened over a year and a half ago, and there hasn't been any sort of news articles about it. He hasn't talked about it anywhere. And even when we booked this interview, they didn't say, "Oh, by the way, Phil's had a heart attack." It was kind of tucked inside the press release about this new music they wanted us to talk about. So I wasn't 100% sure how forthright he would be about the events. But you asked, "How are you?" And boom, off to the races he went.
Yeah, I wonder, do you think it's because maybe someone like him doesn't do too many interviews and it just never got out there? Or do you think it was something that it was just he's a real personal guy and he just didn't want anybody to know what was going on?
I can't decide because he's not opposed to doing. He's not media adverse, but maybe they did kind of hold the story until he had some kind of new music to talk about as well. Sometimes that's the way to go. But this is an awful long time. 18 months, and no one had any idea that he went through all of this.
I know, and I feel like if we didn't ask him or talk about it, I feel like we wouldn't have gotten. He just kept peeling it like an onion,
Yeah.
He was telling us how he died a couple times, we already knew that, and it was just. I feel like just letting him go and talk about it is kind of what he wanted to do, or maybe he didn't know he wanted to do it when he came in here. But I feel like he needed somebody to talk to about it.
I'm trying to put in perspective the type of artist Phil Vassar was kind of during his commercial peak, which was probably late 90s, early 2000s. I think he had a good 5 to 10 what you would call hit songs. And then he wrote probably 5 to 10 other hit songs for other artists.
What's his biggest song that people would know him by?
Just Another Day in Paradise.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Day. Yeah, Carlene is another one, Little Red Rodeo. In a Real World was a little bit later. But Just Another Day in Paradise is probably the one that gets the most airplay today.
Yeah, it is a good song. I haven't heard that in forever. I would love to hear that again.
So the point is he like this wasn't like a small time artist who had this health and just overcame. He was as big of a deal as like we had Terry Clark in here. He's very comparable to like a Terry Clark level artist. Like if Terry Clark had a heart attack, you would think people would tell people. I'm just amazed that we didn't know until now, I guess.
Definitely, man. I am too. And I also like, I wasn't able, like, I don't know. If we would have known that he died a couple times, it might have been spawned a couple questions, but we didn't really have time to think about it. But you wonder, does that affect somebody like a Phil Vassar when they perform, like knowing that in the back of their head that they have this heart issue?
I think it has to, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe not on the stage, but you're monitoring maybe your vitals kind of on and off stage. I think to a certain degree it has to.
That's crazy.
How do you feel about, I'm looking now, I'm Googled Phil Vassar, and it's the New York Post has covered it, American Songwriter, Fox News, I see Parade, I saw People on the Beat. Like everybody's covering Evan Paul's interview with Taste of Country Nights.
Oh, really?
With Phil Vassar. Oh, yeah, it's everywhere.
I thought it was just on like Fox News and People. Okay, I didn't know that.
No.
That's interesting.
A New York Post.
Did we get a lot of web hits out of that?
Sometimes we do. Sometimes it doesn't work as well. Like this hasn't been a huge web story for us, I guess you would say, but clearly it's getting picked up all over the place.
Wow, I made it to the New York Post. They don't say my name probably though, right?
No, they just said Vassar told Taste of Country, and they didn't even link through to us, which is kind of a bummer.
Oh, what's up with that, man? Did people use my name? I got to send all this to my mom. My mom like prints it all out.
You got to link through too. That always kind of bugs me. Let's see if I'm looking at Parade magazine.
I need one of these magazines that would be in a dentist's office waiting room.
All right, Parade magazine linked through to our YouTube video.
Yeah, but did they say my name?
They embedded the video too. They embedded the video. Yeah, they didn't say your name either.
These places never say my name. It's all right. That's all right. I get it. I mean, I work at McDonald's. They're talking about the fries, not the guy that made them. I get it.
Keeping you humble.
Right. That's cool, though, man. So it's apparent that a lot of people wanted an update on Phil Vassar. They just didn't know they wanted an update. So it's quite possible that people forgot about him, but then are reminded when they see his body of work, I guess.
The other part of this interview I thought was pretty interesting. He talks a little bit about Toby Keith, which he didn't have a great story there. I didn't realize he owned his own bar, kind of, and that's kind of what he used as sort of his springboard for his music and his songs. Like, that's a really unusual path to go from bar owner to country hitmaker. That's odd to me.
It is, yeah. And I want to know what happened to the bar. Did he sell it? Did it go out of business? Like, I wonder what made him stop doing it.
I think he said the area of town he owned it in. It's probably someone's condo complex now or something. You know what I mean? Like a duplex. Everything gets torn down.
Can a Phil Vassar open up a honky tonk in downtown, or the name's not big enough?
Well, I would have said no, like just a few weeks ago, but like Riley Green's got one opening up now, and I did not know that Riley Green was a big enough artist to support his own brand of bar.
Yeah, I think they're all doing these like what Laney did. I don't know. Mm-hmm. You know more about. I think they're all just doing like these LMA or whatever, like leasing a lease agreement, right, and just using the likeness. And so, like as a country, yeah.
I think you're right, and it kind of concerns me a little bit here because I think if you're going to open up a bar in downtown Nashville, like that's a commitment. That almost feels like a marriage, right? Like in 20, 30 years, I expect there's still to be Eric Church's bar and Blake Shelton's bar. But like, you know, I don't know if I can make the same bet for every bar that's popping up nowadays. Like artists with less of a sort of a catalog and a little bit of a thinner of a resume now have their own bar. Like I'm not 100% sure there's going to be Lainey Wilson's bar on Broadway in 30 years. I hope so, but I don't know.
Yeah, Chris Young once told me that he wants to open up a bar, but not in Nashville, and it won't have his name on it. So maybe that's the way to go to ensure that it doesn't get minused.
He's taking the Oliver Anthony route there, like do it, but make as less money as possible, and get it. Just doing it for the people. I'm just doing it for the drinks and the food. That's what I'm
right.
For.
Yeah, when has that ever lasted? You're right. Those are all the ones that end up on Bar Rescue.
There's no reason to do it if you're not going to make a lot of money off of it.
That's very true, unless you're just looking for a local watering hole.
Right. I've always wanted to serve drinks. All right, well, I guess.